Undercard fans, John Franklin here for the Combat Press. I'm joined by the great Sean Wheelock. Sean, let's talk about this card, and we'll talk about a couple other things you got going on. But so when I first heard of this, and I wrote the preview for Combat Press, I said it was hard to believe. I mean, Michael Bisping hadn't fought Anderson Silva yet. Right. Ken Shamrock hadn't fought Royce Gracie yet. I'm like, how are these guys going to fight on such a quick turnaround in this event that I've never even heard of? So what was your first experience with the event and the company and everything?
I actually heard about this event in November. They reached out to me. My question was, where are you going to hold this? That was huge to me. And they said Arizona. I know Arizona, it's a great commission. Matthew Valenzuela is an outstanding executive director. So I thought, all right, this is a legitimate show. I talked to the people in Canada. They're based in Toronto. It's yourshow.tv. They're legitimate people. They're entertainment people. They understand the fight game. They have a history with MMA, with boxing, with pro wrestling. I saw the card come together. My buddy Chris Maltzberger, who I've known for a long time, he does MMA Legends of Hall of Fame, and he's the matchmaker. Okay. So I knew this was coming together, and man, I'm thrilled. I was giving an interview the other day, and I said, please don't tell my agent I would have done this fight for free. Think about this. Roy Jones Jr. is my favorite boxer of the 1990s. I get to call his fight. Bisping, Sonnen, what a treat for that. Shannon the Cannon Ridge, who I've known a long time. I've never commentated one of his fights. Kurt Angle, I'm a huge mark from the Central States days in the Midwest, Kansas City. And I get to work with Jim Ross. So what a thrill. This is really a great show.
It is a great show, and I guess my question is, in terms of the way promotions are going these days, do you think when there's a lot of like regional promotions, they're struggling to get people to come, do you think this is sort of the way to go in the future? Is this a one-off thing? What do you think the future of this, because you're able to draw a lot of different people on a lot of different fronts. What do you think the future of this kind of fight is?
So I think that what Bellator is doing, they're taking a lot of criticism. Obviously, I was a Bellator for a long time, 5.5 years, 127 straight shows. I think they're taking a lot of criticism because Bellator has some outstanding fighters. If you just look at, for instance, Michael Chandler, what an outstanding fighter he is. Will Brooks, the 155-pound champion, tremendous. Andrei Koreshkov is outstanding. The fact that they've brought over fighters like Josh Thompson and Phil Davis from the UFC. Liam McGeary is maybe the best light heavyweight that nobody's talking about. But then the fact that they're doing Kimbo Slice and Dada 5000, and the second to last Bellator that I commentated back in June, Kimbo Slice versus Ken Shamrock. Ken Shamrock versus Royce Gracie, combined 101 years old. Bellator is taking heat. I think a lot of fans are asking, what does Bellator want to be? Which direction are they going in? With this show, it's a fun show. And as a commentator, I'm going to respect it. I respect everything, but it's a fun show. We don't have to try to overly sell. It is what it is. Byron Phillips is a great story. Byron Phillips against Roy Jones Jr. This is an intriguing fight to me. Chael Sonnen versus Michael Bisping in submission grappling. I'm a big grappling nerd. I go and I get pummeled by pro and MMA fighters every week of my life. I'm really thrilled to call that. It's a fun show. I think there's a space out there in mixed martial arts for fun shows, for hybrid shows. I like the idea that yourshow.tv knows what they want to be with this event. They're not saying, well, we're one thing, but we're another. They're being very true to what they are, and that's a spectacle, but a spectacle that's a lot of fun and offers a lot of things to different fight fans.
I agree. I think that, you know, like you said, if you turn these into a and I'm gonna get a little crazy with this analogy here, but you know, maybe there's a place for not just a fan expo, but almost like a South by Southwest,
absolutely,
or something where a show like this would bring a lot of different people and do a lot of different things and be like a fan-friendly type of thing, and this could be the grassroots of that.
I agree with you. I mean, you hit on it. It's fan-friendly, and it's a good undercard. Of the four guys on the undercard, I called all four of them in Bellator. Jacob Kobe Ortiz had an outstanding fight against Douglas Lima, where he went to within 10 seconds of the end of the third round and made it very difficult for Douglas Lima. So these are legitimate guys. It's a solid MMA undercard. It's a fun MMA main event with Maverick Harvey, who's 48 years old, who goes back to the pre-UFC 1 days, those no-hold-barred days, kind of the warehouse fighting and the dock fighting, and Shannon the Cannon Ridge, who's in the Dan Severn and Travis Fulton and Jeremy Horn territory, where when you go on Sherdog to look at them, it goes on for a long time. You have to invest about 20 or 30 minutes, and they'll tell you they're still missing 80 fights on Sherdog. Right. It's really a fun card. I love pro wrestling. I've never commentated pro wrestling, and I get to do it now with Jim Ross. It's just a really cool, fun card. And you said it's fan-friendly. There's literally something for everybody who loves combat sports.
All right, and we'll get you out of here on this. Let's just talk real quick logistics. So who's going to be commentating what? I know you and Jim Ross are going to do the entire card. When does Rampage come in? How does all that work?
I think Quinton comes in whenever Quinton wants to come in, but I've called fights with Quinton. He sat in with Jimmy Smith and myself when I was the Bellator commentator. He brings great energy. He's a lot of fun. He's such a big personality. Jim Ross, whatever Jim Ross wants to do, he can do. Jim Ross, I put him in like Pat Summerall category. Pat Summerall is my idol in television. And Jim Ross, for me, along with Gordon Soley, Gorilla Monsoon, one of the true greats. So I'm telling Jim Ross, you drive this show. You tell me what you want me to do. I would imagine I'll be doing the play-by-play on MMA and submission grappling. Jim, of course, it can be no other way to do play-by-play on pro wrestling. And Jim is moving into boxing. He has a package on CBS Sportsnet. He's done some Golden Boy on FS1. So I'd like to actually be a color commentator on boxing. I was a pro boxing referee for a long time. Maybe I can keep a scorecard for once and people can be mad at me on my scorecard.
And yeah, Jim is really diversifying his career post WWE. So he literally, and no disrespect for you or Quinton, but he's the guy that could go through the whole night sitting by himself. He's the guy that has all the fronts. Lastly,
no, I just have to say, look, I'm from Shawnee, Kansas. I'm living the dream, man. I know my place in the world. I'm happy to be behind Quinton Rampage Jackson and the great Jim Ross.
All right, and then lastly, just tell everybody what else you got going on. I know you do the Let's Get It On podcast with
Appreciate that.
John McCarthy, which is a fantastic podcast,
Thank you very
by the
much.
way. So what else you got going on?
Yeah, so the podcast, we just moved to twice a week, so fresh episodes on Fridays and on Mondays. Stitcher, iTunes, directly our full show archives. It's always free, 2 fresh episodes a week. Let's Get It On podcast.com. I'm commentating right now for One Championship, for Victory, for Titan, both of those shows, Victory and Titan on UFC Fight Pass, and I hope this is the start of many for your show.tv fight nights. This is going to be really good. It's a really special promotion.
There you have it, guys. For John Franklin, or for Sean Wheelock, I'm John Franklin for the Combat Press. You can obviously see Sean Saturday night on your show.tv doing the play-by-play, and check out all his other ventures out there. He's really a very important part of the mixed martial arts community. All right, take it easy, guys.